Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So in this video, I wanted to talk about how you can become a cloud engineer while working at a job that is not a cloud engineering job or even a job that has nothing to do with cloud computing. So let's go. All right, so there are obviously two ways of doing that. There's the way of doing it through your job, and there's the way of doing it through outside of your job. And we're going to start with what you can do at your current job to get promoted to a cloud engineering role. So, if you've been following me, you probably know that I started my career in IT as a help desk person. I was supporting users, I was fixing computers, I was installing software, and all that stuff. And then through promotion, I then became a cloud engineer. Now, of course, it's something that actually took me years to achieve because that wasn't really a plan I had for my career. I really didn't know what I wanted to do in IT. Cloud computing wasn't really a thing at the time. And so I just progressed through IT normally. So in this video, I want to tell you the shortcuts I would have taken if I had to start my career all over again to become a cloud engineer. All right, so the first thing you can do at work is tell your manager, tell a higher up that your plan, your goal for your career is to become a cloud engineer. Now, this is very important because a lot of people fail to do that. They fail to communicate their career plans for many reasons. One of them being fear that the employer will be like, oh, you have one foot out the door, or I won't be able to keep you, or whatever. If you have that fear, then maybe you shouldn't be working for that employer. You should feel comfortable talking with your manager, talking with somebody in your management hierarchy that this is your goal. You want to achieve that goal in your career, and they can better help you orient your career towards a cloud engineering career as opposed to like the traditional IT where you just move up and up and up in whatever organic fashion you would move up, like I did. If you are purposeful, if you inform your management that this is the career path you want to follow, you will have help from these people to enable you to achieve your career goals, which is not something you would have if you don't tell anyone. Another thing you can do at work is in your free time or in your downtime at work, like when there's like downtime or you don't really have a project or you're waiting on a call, do cloud projects or study cloud or use that time to build up your skills, build up your portfolio, build up your knowledge related to cloud computing. You are getting paid. You are getting paid to be better at your job. And if you have a job in IT, particularly, working and exploring other IT fields is something that is important to your job. It is important to your career growth. And so you should feel comfortable exploring and learning things during downtime. Now, of course, if you have other priorities at your job, if you have to solve a ticket or you have to talk to a user, don't do it during that time. But take advantage of all the downtime and the free time you have at work while you are getting paid to brush up on your skills and to get better. I can't emphasize this enough. Just because you're not working doesn't mean you can't learn. So use the time where you're not working to get better and move towards your career goals. Now, somewhat related to that is doing innovation projects related to cloud computing for your work. I know my employer has an innovation goal which is very open ended. And so, if you have an employer like this who gives you the opportunity to do innovative work, to do something that is not necessarily within your wheelhouse, take that opportunity to do a cloud computing project, especially if your employer is receptive to spending money for that. Now, some employers are like, no, we're not going to go to cloud, we're never doing that. And then it's not really the best employer to grow in the cloud or even do a cloud project. But if your employer is receptive to a project like this, then by all means, go and do it. Show them you can do it so that they can open up the opportunity for you in the future. And an added perk to doing that project is that you can actually put that project in your resume as a part of your job, which is much better to have than a side project, in my opinion, because somebody can see you have professional experience in the cloud as opposed to a side hustle or hobby or whatever. So it really is highly valuable to have these side projects in your resume. Another thing that you can do, the last thing on my list right now, is to work or shadow with a cloud computing team that is currently at your job. So if you have a team that does cloud computing, don't be afraid to tell your manager, talk to that manager, the team's manager, the team lead, or talk to one of the people in the group and see if you can shadow them or if there's any side projects you can do for them, right? As they may have work that they need somebody to do, but they don't really have the headcount to do it. So if you can negotiate a deal with your manager and that manager to do some side work when you have free time, this is highly valuable because you open up the door to one, becoming part of that team full time. Internal promotions are extremely useful because they allow you to not have to apply, they allow you to not have to worry about really proving yourself. So if you can do an internal promotion, if you can work on projects with a team who's already working in cloud computing, do it. Take advantage of this opportunity because it gives you the opportunity to move within the same organization. It gives you the opportunity to have those projects on your resume. It gives you the opportunity to learn new skills while getting paid. And I can't emphasize this enough. It is better to learn while you're getting paid than to learn when you're not getting paid, right? So if you have bills to pay, the best time to learn, the best time to improve your career is while you have a job and you are getting paid to improve your career. And lastly, at work, if you have professional development opportunities, if your employer is willing to pay for you to take a class, take a course, or pay for a certification, do it. Do it while you're at work so that you don't have to pay for your own certification, you don't have to pay for your own training. Do that training on your employer's dime. Free is the best. And that's why it's also very important to talk to your manager about your goals because you can then get these trainings approved, even if they're not necessarily willing to make you do projects or to have you shadow a team, or if the employer doesn't even have a team that does cloud or they don't want to go to cloud, they may be willing to say, you know what, we value you as an individual and we will give you training that will allow you to progress in your career, even if it's not with us. I know my current employer is very big on this. They really want you to grow as an individual. And if your career path does not align with the path that the company wants to go in, they will still help you grow because somebody who is motivated and happy and highly qualified is always more valuable than somebody who's miserable and doesn't want to learn and doesn't want to do anything. So that's why you should do point number one and go talk to your manager, go talk to your reporting hierarchy and say, I want to become a cloud engineer or I want to do DevOps or DevSecOps or whatever have you. Have your employer help you through that career change and pay for it. If they can pay for it, take advantage of those free resources. Some employers also offer a tuition reimbursement program for college classes or classes outside of the scope of the company, what they offer. So take advantage of these credits as well, because yeah, it may be like thousands of dollars you have to pay up front, but you will get reimbursed at the end. So take advantage of all the resources your employer has to offer to grow your career as much as you can before you start working on the side, because the work you do on the side is sacrificing your personal life it's sacrificing your time, and it's also sacrificing your resources. If you have to pay for a course or you have to pay for a certification, it is out of your own pocket. Whereas if your employer is willing to pay for it, make them pay for it. They have money. They don't like money. It's chump change for them. So take advantage of the resources your employer can grant you so that you can grow in your career and you can be the best version of yourself professionally as you possibly can. All right, now let's talk about what you can do on the side to grow your career as a cloud engineer or to become a cloud engineer. We will start with cloud projects. Cloud projects is something that really, I would say, is a little bit new. It comes from the software engineering side where people actually have to have software portfolios, show that they can code, show that they can develop applications and things like this. So the cloud field is starting to adopt that project portfolio methodology, and so it is highly recommended that you have some projects under your belt, either projects that you've done professionally, ideally professionally done, or projects that you are doing on your own that you can showcase to a potential employer. What projects can you do? Well, that's very difficult to say, especially since we're now talking cloud, we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about deploying resources and things like that that cost money and don't do things on their own without software attached to it, right? It's like building a computer, but you don't really have anything to do on that computer. Sadly, for projects in cloud computing, for your portfolio, you will have to deal with software to an extent. And what I mean by that is you may have to deploy a website, you may have to use an API, you may have to write some at least small piece of code to make things work. You may have to modify some code to make things work because just deploying something is not necessarily enough to showcase your skills. You want something that is usable that people can see. That being said, it is not expected of a cloud engineer to be a software developer. That means that you should not worry about the codes. So if you use a template, if you deploy your website and you use a template, but you yourself built the infrastructure behind it on your own and you deployed it and you can document what you did and why you did it, what design decisions you made, that's fine. Because a software engineer deploying a template, not a great look. But a cloud engineer or DevOps or whatever that is not a software person, deploying a template is fine because it is what you would do. You would deploy the resources, you would manage the infrastructure, and everything else is a template or something developed by somebody else. So if you find software engineering projects, if you find templates, if you find examples, you can take these projects, you can make them your own and deploy the resources, make a project to deploy somebody else's application. Obviously, if you have the permission from that person, make sure you give them credit for the work they have done and all that stuff. But you can deploy an application from somebody else and document all this so that you have your own portfolio. The second thing you can do is get certified. I'm not a big fan of certifications, but in that case, certifications will probably help you showcase that you are willing to learn, you are able to learn, you are interested in cloud. So work on your certifications, work on learning content. You don't have to have the certifications. They're better because they actually show that you are able to learn the content and you know to an extent the content, but at least learn the content, go through Microsoft Learn, go through other courses and get skills. You know, the goal of this learning on your own is to be able to pass a job interview. So you have to be knowledgeable enough to have a cloud engineer interview you and be able to answer the question adequately. Learn the cloud providers, learn the one that you need I made a video about which ones to choose. I will add it in the description. And now, one thing that you can do on the side that I can't emphasize enough that you should be doing is, if you want a job as a cloud engineer, is you have to apply for a job as a cloud engineer. You can't get a job until you apply for it. People won't give you jobs. Don't wait. Worst case, you get rejected. If you don't apply, you will never get rejected, but you will never be accepted. So apply. You miss 100% of the shots you never take. So apply to jobs, see why they're rejecting you, try to understand what pattern they are in terms of jobs that accept your resume versus jobs that don't accept your resume. You will probably be rejected. This is how it works, right? Job searches, most of the people will reject you. So don't feel bad, don't worry about it, right? Because this is how it works. I've been rejected plenty of time. Most people have been rejected plenty of times. A lot of the FANG people have been rejected plenty of times by a lot of other companies who were like, you're not good enough for me, but they got into FANG. So don't worry about rejection. Just apply, just get a job. Who knows, just because you're not comfortable with calling yourself a cloud engineer doesn't mean you can't do the job. So be confident, try it. Worst case, you fail, and it's a learning opportunity for the next job you apply to. So apply for jobs. And now, if you're ready to take the plunge to become a cloud engineer, then you should check out this video right here where I talk about interview questions for cloud engineers. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.